Hey, welcome everybody. This is John Palmaducci, Dr. Steve Selling, and this is the Raging Verbalist number 163. For those of you just joining us the first time, welcome. For those of you coming back again and again, thanks a lot. Hit that like button. It helps out with the old algorithm on YouTube. Also, if you want to subscribe, that would also be nice and cool. And notifications, I find them annoying, so I'll just say that out loud. No, I'm not supposed to say that. You know, people say, "Oh, don't ever say that to people." Well, if you're not bright enough to figure that out, well, yikes. So also we have a Facebook group, which is Position to Win Book, and you can go over there. You can see us there. So also we have a Facebook group, which is Position to Win Book, and you can go over there. You can see us there. And also you can ask questions and all of that. And so with that, let me introduce our lovely co-host, the person who actually sits in for you, the lovely Sandra. Sandra, welcome.
Hi, how are you?
I'm doing well. Sandra is on the mend today. She is sitting here gritting her teeth, but she's going to make it to another exciting episode. And we are prepared for this week's topic. Also, you can go to positiontowinbook.com, and you can find some free stuff and some other things which we'll talk about in a little bit. All right, Sandra. So what are we talking about today? We're talking about, I think, the Super Bowl, right?
Yes, Super Bowl 57. So why are we covering the Super Bowl a week early?
Well, we just want to make sure, since the NFL has continuously pushed this to, as they would say, to the right, it now starts to kind of clash with Valentine's Day. And, instead of doing a combo pack, I also wanted to make sure that people could actually get their bets in if they are so interested in betting. Of course, I'm always interested in how betting goes. Remember, I'd rather book them than make them, but there are people who want to make some bets. So hopefully we'll give you some entertainment and some ideas. And we take no responsibility for any losses. And if you won a lot of money, well, we're always interested in that too. So, all right. So that's why we're doing it a week early. We got to get people to get their bets down early.
All right. And what do you think of the upcoming game?
Well, it seems like a fascinating game. And in fact, we have, for the first time in a while, we have the two number one seeds. Kansas City was the number one seed in the AFC, and Philadelphia Eagles were the number one seed in the NFC. And, you always start hearing then stories about, strength of schedule or anything. They won the most games. They were the top seeds. They made it through the playoffs. I think it's going to be an interesting game in the fact that no one knows, and this is the part that I think some people who don't know much about the NFL don't quite get, which is the excitement of the NFL, is that no one knows exactly what's going to happen until the game happens and it unfolds. So there's a whole anticipatory thing. But I think it's going to be a hard-fought game. Probably defense is going to have a bigger and greater effect. And, for those of you who don't know, the Philadelphia Eagles are leading the number of sacks for the season. And that may give Mr. Patrick Mahomes a little bit of a problem, since he sprained his ankle. So we'll have to see how fleet of foot he is. But if he avoids those sacks, Kansas City could come out on top. They have the experience. So that's the other thing, is that experience can make a big difference in a Super Bowl.
And who are you rooting for?
Well, I'll ask you. So who are you rooting for? I mean, I know that you guys have read a lot, because not like READ. We're not talking literacy, but you have, Go Big Red, which is Nebraska. So Kansas City is also red. So who are you rooting for?
So I am rooting for Kansas City. So they're close. They're the only pro team really that is close by, I guess, besides Denver Broncos, but maybe more of a KC fan. So go Patrick Mahomes, Mahomie. He's in all sorts of grocery store commercials, furniture store commercials around here. So we see plenty of him.
Well, and you got to be in all those commercials when you're hot, right? Because when you're not, then you're going to be, you're going to be the house of carpet somewhere down the road. He's going to be the guy,
Fred's Heating and Air, something like that.
Fred's Heating and Air, exactly. So, you've seen those commercials,
Yep.
and that was put a little banner underneath, famous kind of almost stars in this commercial. Yeah. But real quick, funny story is that William the Refrigerator Perry was a guy who, obviously famous in Chicago, won, was in the Super Bowl. I mean, he ran the ball in for a touchdown, all of these kind of things that he did. Well, after his career was over and the bacon commercials and all of the national stuff had gone away, a good friend of mine, Scott, went out and said, "Hey, you know what? I've got this idea. I think I'm going to go out and get me some endorsement guy." And he was encouraged to go looking at pro football guys, and he ended up getting the Refrigerator Perry to be in his promotion, in his commercials. And it was funny because, of course, and he lives, Scott lives in Chicago, so if you were in, somewhere else, it wouldn't be as interesting. And it was amazing how, just to be between us, how little money by that point in time, because as he said, when he showed up for everything, well, nobody's calling now. So, so there you go. It's an example of that. So, so I know, so you're rooting for the Chiefs. For me, considering that I'm a Denver Bronco fan, born and raised there, my NFC team is the Rams, who just crapped out this year. And, probably I'm going to be rooting more for the Chiefs than anything. And, but there's a lot to like on each team. And yes, if it sounds like I'm going down the middle of the road, I am. I can also tell you that if you're going to be betting, the more that you bet with your heart and not your head, the more money you will lose. So, bet early and bet often.
And what do you think of speaking of betting, all the new betting craze stuff kind of going around across the country?
Well, when I was in Vegas and I was doing my stuff in Vegas, they were barely allowed to even say the point spread on television without getting bleeped out. The NFL never even wanted to admit that there was this thing like gambling going on. And yet, here we are just, some time later that, not only are we talking about it, but, there's like the official betting sponsor of the NFL and all of that. So I think that it's interesting. In some ways, though, it's not as good an idea. Again, I'm not getting, wrapping myself in some kind of, shawl or something and saying, Shroud of Turin saying, hey, that's a bad thing. Because again, I understand why people bet. But, when you make it so simple that they can go and get online and they can go do it from their phone and they're betting like crazy, there's a downside, which is usually people suck at betting. And of course, the books make a lot of money because of that. So I think that it's here. My guess is that eventually we'll be betting on everything, which I kind of like that. But, there are things that we still can't bet on in the U.S. that you can bet on outside of the U.S. But, the NFL thing has just gone crazy. And now, when you look at all these various people and pundits, and that's the other part, is that everybody's got an opinion on how this thing is going to shake out or not shake out.
And how many special prop bets are there?
Well, I went exploring to find out how many there were, and we're talking well into a couple hundred, if not more, but some of them become pretty obscure. For those of you who are out there who have never gone out and looked at some of these things, you can literally bet on anything that happens in a game. You can bet on if somebody is going to score a touchdown, if they're going to fumble, if they're going to miss a kick, if they're going to make so many points by kicking. All of those get covered by prop bets, and including, one of my favorites, which is how long will they sing the national anthem? And the bookies set the line, and people bet this. Now it's measured in full seconds, and they round up to the full second. So literally, there are people who are betting, the kids' college fund, and sitting there watching and saying, if she or he, whoever is going to be singing this thing, can just hold that high C note 1 second longer, daddy's going to buy you a bike. And I always find that kind of kooky and crazy. So yeah, there are lots and lots of bets like that. That's always one of my favorites. So is how long will that be, and how many people will be happy or sad just by. I mean, that is, we haven't even started the game, and people are like going, yeah, I got that covered. So I love that. Now, if you don't want to take a bet on what you're doing, if you're in business, you're in sales, you're in marketing, you're doing one of those things, what I can tell you is that what you don't want to do is go out and blindly take some of those chances that people do, because there's lots of people that take crazy chances in business. And therefore, I went out and wrote a book called Most Businesses Fail in the First 5 Minutes. It just takes them 3 to 5 years to realize it. Position to Win. Now, if you have not picked up this book, it's available physically. Like, I am holding a physical book. This is not a hologram or anything like that. You can go to positiontowinbook.com, positiontowinbook.com. I will personalize it and sign it and send it to you. Also, you can go to Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Books A Million, and get a physical copy. Also, you can get a digital copy for Kindle, Nook, and Apple iBooks. And for those of you who are now needing a job after, maybe losing money on the Super Bowl, is that, frankly, you can go get Remote Work for a Better World, and that's available exclusively on Kindle. And away you go. Also, for those of you who have missed out, we now have a mug. It's the Raging Verbalist, and this mug could be your lucky mug. I'm not saying it is or it isn't. I can tell you, having been around lots of gamblers my entire life, gamblers get superstitious. So if this is your lucky mug, you need to go get it. Go to positiontowinbook.com and check it out, and we'll go from there. All right, Sandra, how do we continue on our journey to Super Bowl 57?
All right, so you're talking about prop bets. So what are the top 3 prop bets that you've seen?
Well, I have to put on the magic prediction glasses, so now I can see into the future, see in there clearly. So I can tell you that the bets that I like, having looked them over, if I was going to, and I am not trying to send you down the road to perdition, the road to ruin, the road to betting, but I will tell you the bets that I am interested in is, first off, there's one that will Kelsey score a touchdown. Now, the line opened pretty stout and it's moving pretty fast, but I think that there's a pretty good chance that Mahomes will throw a pass to Kelsey and he'll score a touchdown, number one receiver. So I like that one. That is my favorite. Also, the under and over started at 51. It's been bet down now to 49, may even be down further than that. Understand that most people bet the over. It's a human frailty. So I kind of like the under on that, because I think both defenses are going to lock things down. We just saw that the under won in the AFC championship game because it was only 43 points. So that was a winner. So I like that one. And then the other one that I think is a little bit of a stretch, but maybe not, is the kicker for the Kansas City Chiefs. Again, I'm not picking him because I'm a Chief fan. I'm picking him because I like what is up there. And the kicker for the Chiefs has got a lot of leg, and he's got a lot of experience. And Andy Reid is not as foolish as some other coaches that, hey, let's go on 4th down no matter what. And he kicks and gets points. So as we're putting this together, the line or the prop is that he has to make 8 points. That's 2 touchdowns and 2 extra points. 2 field goals, 2 extra points. And I like that. Those are my 3 favorite bets that I like this time. Notice I don't bet on the game itself because, again, I'm betting on the game inside the game, which always makes that kind of the best thing.
All right. And what are the weirdest and wackiest proposition bets?
Well, thank goodness that Janet Jackson had a boob escape because that has created that every year will there be a costume malfunction, and that's one of the wacky bets that's out there. We have other ones similar to that. I always like that one. That was kind of a goofy one. Also, one of them that I think is really, an unsung wacky bet, and I gotta read it. So just bear with me. Is will the Eagles win by 37 or more points? How about that for a wacky one? And then now don't feel bad because it even goes further. It only goes to 43 or more points, but that's also true for Mahomes. Will they win by 43 or more points? I think that's a crazy bet, but they're getting action and you're getting odds on that thing. I think that's a pretty wacky bet because, I mean, holy smokes, if 49 is the line for the over and under, having one team win by 43 points, highly unlikely. And then, of course, there's always the favorite kind of wacky one, which is who will win the coin toss. Also, will it go into overtime? That's another one. And I know you may think that's not wacky, but that's kind of a wacky one because there's, very rarely are we going to see a Super Bowl go into overtime. So those are my kind of weird and wacky ones if you want to go out there. But hey, if you have a mind to, because see, some people just think that, and this is true in other games, but usually not as much action, so you may not be able to get the bet down, that it isn't just the point spread, but it's, let's push it out and get higher and higher odds and higher percentages, and away you go.
All right. And how much will be bet on Super Bowl 57?
Well, of course, we won't know that number for a while, but last year it was $7.61 billion US above the board, which means legally bet. Not that I'm sure there's no illegal betting anymore because it's all legal betting. So I'm sure there's none of that going on. But 7.61 billion, my guess is that since there has been so much hype, so many commercials, all of that going on, that we're going to far exceed that. Interestingly enough, commercials cost $7 million for a 30-second spot. Now, the worst thing is if it's a blowout and you own that spot late in the fourth quarter. I mean, there's nobody's watching. Everybody's, eating guacamole and pizza and something else, and it's all done and over with because there's just nothing happening. And 95% of those slots were sold out when I was checking on it. But here's the crazy part. They were sold out by September the 8th. So the season had barely begun. I don't even know if it had begun at that point in time. And they had sold out 95% of the Super Bowl slots. So to me, if you want to talk about a bet that people are making, they're betting that $7 million is going to win in their marketing department.
All right. And what is your prediction for the game?
Well, I'm going to ask you. So you need to predict the winner and give us the points. What are you thinking? Huh? I mean, now that you have a new tooth and maybe it's oscillating, giving you, discussions from another dimension or something. What do we have? What do you think?
The tooth fairies channeling in. I don't know. Of course, I'm going to say that Kansas City's going to win because, I'm the loser that bets with my heart. And I'm not sure the points, but I think it won't be like outrageous for score. But I think Kansas City, it's going to be probably up by like 3 or something. It's going to be low. I don't know. Lower.
Well, obviously,
I'm not a bettor. Can anyone tell?
Obviously, Sandra's got a rubber band tight on that roll with it. So my prediction is going to be Kansas City. I think they're going to win by at least 5. Be a little bit more of a surprise than people would think. I think it may be. I'll say 28-22, something like that, and we'll end up with a furious drive towards the end that doesn't work out. So that's what I'm going to say, 28-22. I know that's 6 points for those of you who can actually do math, but I'm just saying that they're going to win. They're going to beat the spread. Well, actually, if they come within 2 points, they beat the spread. Which, by the way, they kind of screwed up some stuff on one of their games because they let the other team kick a field goal and boom, there you go. They lost against the spread. So they won, but anybody who bet them lost. So that's my prediction. I think that Kansas City is going to win. We'll see. For all of you who are Philadelphia Eagle fans, I wish you great success. You never know what's going to happen. The thing that I think is the smartest thing to do is if you're going to bet based upon some interesting angle and some of those other things. Usually people bet with their hearts. Usually what they want to do is they want to go out there and prove something because of that. I can tell you, if you do want to win consistently, which there may never be a way to do it other than being a bookie, but if you want to win consistently, what you want to do is you want to find a prop bet that works for you. Again, flipping the coin toss is a 50-50 bet. So, hey, what the heck, you're just making a guess. But look for things like I did today and getting ready for this to say, look, here's 3 prop bets that I do like, and hopefully all your prop bets win. So this is John Paul Mendoza, Dr. Speed Selling, for myself and the ever lovely Sandra. Thank you for joining us here on the Raging Verbalist. Hopefully you'll have a successful Super Bowl, and make sure that you join us each and every week for You Never Know What the Raging Verbalist will say. Go to the Facebook group if you want to put in some topics that you'd like me to pontificate and rage about. And with that, have a good one, and we'll be seeing you next week.